one knew how much risk was in that system. Bilateral, bespoke, non-reported transactions. No one knew how much risk was in that system. Repackaged and re-leveraged again and again and again and again. No one knew how much risk was in that system. Bilateral, bespoke, non-reported transactions. No one knew how much risk was in that system. Repackaged and re-leveraged again and again and again and again and again and again.
GM, welcome back to the channel. In this one, we have some breaking news with the FTX repayments to creditors. Looking like it's going to be coming sooner rather than later. So all the details on that. We've also got a bit of Japanese-based updates as well, a bit of macro talk. And of course, we'll look at some charts here, but a fairly slow day across the markets. Obviously, quite a lot of indecision in the markets as well. So let's crack on and see what's happening. So BTC here, 57.2K on the weekly time frame, a long wick down there, but slowly closing the gap upwards, but nothing of real significant as of yet until we come to this red line at 60K. We want to see a break above 60K, or at least come and challenge this with some efforts maybe during this week. So that is kind of where we stand on a Bitcoin front. Yesterday we saw stocks actually retrace some of the gains, which is probably expected in ways. Big dump down, you get a big rebound, and then a bit of a downside test. Same for the SPX and also NASDAQ here. So nothing too much to write home about. And then on a crypto related front, we have Sol still at 154, 155 region. So obviously the strongest altcoin in the market right now, and that whole ecosystem not looking bad, but the rest not looking great at all. So flashback to 2022, we have FTX based news here, of course. Huge collapse marking the bottom of Solana, marking the bottom for a load of different cryptocurrencies. And that was pretty much doom and gloom for all of us. Was that when Bitcoin traded like 16K? It was not fun whatsoever. And we are still dealing with the corpse of FTX here. But New York judge has now handed down final approval for a repayment to creditors totaling $12.7 billion. So FTX and sister firm Alameda have to repay this amount. And this is part of a settlement with the CFTC in the US. So the documents are going around today. 12.7 made up of two different kind of, one restitution and one, a word I have not seen before, disgorgement. So 8.7 mil for restitution, 4 bill for disgorgement. Haven't even Googled that. I'm not sure what it means, but money will be coming back to FTX creditors, which is obviously a good thing. Now, I've seen some quotes saying maybe Q1 of 2025, and some people claiming maybe the end of this year. Now, of course, with any good article, you keep all the major stuff at the bottom here. The current version of the FTX proposed reorganization plan will see a 118% return for around 98% of creditors. People with under 50K in claims will be getting made whole or even greater than whole, but that is based on prices as of that Pico bottom of November 2022. So you are being made whole on the worst possible number that you had in your account. And then this is the real interesting bit here. Creditors are currently voting on how they would wish to be paid. They have until August 16th to lodge their requests, and a final decision will be made on October 7th. So this is not market moving news as of yet. This is just an update. And this kind of factors into some other FUDs or maybe just news stories you may have heard around Solana and discounted Solana being sold previously. And I was trying to work out, have these tokens, so there's 12.7 bill that's coming back to creditors. How is that made up? We know that previously FTX had investments in the likes of Anthropic, AI startup. They sold those at a huge premium to what they paid. That obviously gets factored in. And we know that previously they've been selling off crypto assets. So is the selling already done is kind of the question here. We know with the Sol estates, this was why it went to like $8 because FTX blew up. And then we had a load of Sol that was owned by FTX or Alameda, and it made its way to the market via Galaxy. Galaxy Trading sold at roughly $64 per token and recouped around $1.6 billion at this time. So we know there was a huge sale of Sol previously. So I don't think there's a huge overhang of that token, as it seems that Galaxy worked its way through that. selling most of it to Pantera Capital. And if you just look at the data here, so this is their balance sheet as of 31st of August 2023, so a year ago. They had 1.2 billion in Sol, 560 mil of Bitcoin, 192 mil of ETH, and then 100 mil or less of some other altcoins, some stables, and then some, 46 mil in Stargate, etc. Now, reading through this, they got through, I would believe, the majority of that Sol, as there were notable sales during this time frame. Then this was back in September of last year, and this was when a court ordered them to be able to be selling 100 to 200 mil a week worth of crypto assets, ideally selling OTC, etc. By the way, those Galaxy sold Sol at $60 and later at a slightly higher price as well. They are locked for 4 years, which is quite interesting. And so it would seem, going back through the kind of time machine here, September 13th, 2023, FTX received the approval to sell all of those back then. So we would imagine most of the selling has been done. Now, BLOCMATES news, so Lavina does a great job of keeping up to date with stuff, and this was brought to us 3 weeks back with this figure. So hats off to her and the BLOCMATES news team for sorting this information before it hit the kind of main headlines. But what we're seeing today is the resolution of these previously stated facts here. And Google's AI tool comes back with this. I asked whether they've sold all the tokens, and it came back with no. FTX has sold some of its crypto holdings to generate cash to pay back claims, but it's unclear if all has been sold. It goes on to talk about the GBTC unwind. They sold around $1 billion worth of GBTC, which is pretty crazy. Anthropic shares, etc., and the Sol amounts in there. But what I didn't quite get was, I don't think they quite had 12.7 bills worth of tokens to actually give back. So I'm not sure where the additional amounts are actually made up from, to be honest with you. I'm reading through like the Twitter headlines, like people reposting stuff about FTX today with just zero due diligence whatsoever. So we've dug into some data here. It is quite opaque, but it would seem payments are coming back to FTX clients and creditors, maybe Q1 of 2025. And if they've already done the selling, you would imagine they're going to be selling back in cash, or if people are choosing a different option, maybe they'll have to come to the market and repurchase some of the tokens, or maybe they've got some of the altcoins, etc., and they can repay those back, as they would have been a lot less liquid and obviously difficult to shift. Now over to Japan. So just a few news headlines here. So Dylan Leclerc is like the strategist, like a treasury strategist or something, or Bitcoin strategist for Metaplanet, which is a Japanese-based company. It's a Tokyo Stock Exchange listed company, and he's been working his magic. And a nice little update here. Metaplanet secures a 1 billion yen loan at just 0.1% per annum interest. As we saw, their interest rates went up. And that loan is being used to add more Bitcoins to the balance sheet. And he's got the full playbook listed, tweeted out, and people are retweeting this saying, look, add Bitcoin to the balance sheet, stock volatility will go up. Implied volatility up equals options values go up. You can monetize the implied vol by selling calls, then convert to debt. Implied volatility up equals APR to borrow down. Balance sheet equals Bitcoin and cheap debt. Common stock is now levered BTC. Return to step one and start again. Now, I don't fully understand all of those steps, but the fact that he has a sailor playbook in miniature that is now publicly recognized is definitely a good domino to see fall. And I think other companies are now starting to actually copy pasta this. What is 1 billion yen, you may ask? $6.9 million. So roughly at today's market prices, you're looking at around 125 Bitcoins, I believe it is. So they're doing a sailor on a small scale, and hats off to Dylan and for the Japanese company for actually committing to this. So very interesting to see, whilst we have a bit of turmoil in the markets, strategies continue for these companies. Now today there's been an earthquake off of the coast of Japan, as you can see marked out by the X of the epicenter just off the east coast here. Magnitude 7.1, which is pretty insane. They're expecting tsunamis about a meter tall. And you can see some of these coastal cities registering like 5s on the Richter scale. So Japan seemingly not being able to get a break. I was wondering if this would affect the stocks. And it's down a little bit from yesterday, but if we just do like a monthly chart here, big dip down, obviously crash, rebounds a bit, and now it's pretty much going sideways. So didn't seem to be too shook by that. Now this is interesting. So JP Morgan have been talking about the global carry trade of the yen, and I believe it was yesterday they said that the trade unwind was at 50 to 60%. So bullish or bearish, it's your call on that one. But this is what Noah's saying. Look, JP Morgan updates this to say 75% now of the global carry trade has been unwound. So this is unwound really, really quickly. And looking at some of the stock charts, etc., we haven't seen anything crazy past that Monday short, sharp, big dump down. So it seems to be absorbing these pressures. Now, very hard to understand this situation as a pleb myself, but it would seem that we're getting over the worst of it. And Captain Rational Noah states, this is bullish. They are forward looking right now on US cuts. So the expectation here is cuts, and they're preparing for what's coming. So unwind this trade. US cuts are going to come. We need to be prepared for that new environment. So he's saying that this is bullish, very interestingly. Now, other macro talk here today. So Alex Kruger's been talking about he's in the no recession camp, thinks the Psalm rule was flashing a bit of a false positive, you may call it. And now he's saying, I'll be paying extreme attention to all US jobs data points going forward. We're now firmly in a bad economic data is bad for prices trading environment. So for your stocks, your cryptos, etc., you're hoping for not like really bad worsening data to come out of the US. And today we have on Forex Factory unemployment claims coming out. So as you can see from the data here, just scroll this up a little bit. Previous forecasts for the number of people starting to sign on for unemployment checks, 230 to 240,000 is kind of the ballpark of what they've been forecasting. And you've had a few hot prints coming in at 243, back on track. A couple weeks back, and then last week it was hot. So their forecast today is 241,000 people signing on, and we'll see what the actual number prints. But I guess if it comes in line or less, that could potentially see a bit of a rally for the markets. If this comes and overshoots, we're looking at some downside risk of this. So that is where we stand. I did want to check in with the Bitcoin ETF flows as well. So you can see we had panic and hysteria and ETF selling. BlackRock, bit of a stalwart in here, no outage. But then yesterday, they've come back with an in. So a big inflow from BlackRock yesterday. GBTC, as you can see from their data, has been selling off. But yesterday was a positive inflow for Bitcoin ETFs, which has stemmed a 3-day decline. And if you just go to ETH ETFs here, they did experience a couple of days of inflows. But then yesterday, back to an outflow, 23 mil down. And as you can see, it's just pretty much ETH from Grayscale just continually being sold out of. Doesn't look like anyone was moving into their cheaper mini funds, and not enough buying from the others to stem that bleed of 31. They did a good job though, but 23 mil out. But 23 out is low compared to the other outflows, 133, 162, 77, 54. So hopefully trending in the right trajectory. Now, final message here, not financial advice from Mr. Ben Armstrong, aka BitBoy Crypto. I'll leave you with this one.
Cardano will die. Cardano is dead. ADA is dead. You can expect Cardano and ADA to continue to fall further and further behind the pack.
See you in the next one. Check out the meal deal down below. Peace.